Okay, welcome everybody. You're watching the Alberniweather podcast for November 12th, 2024. We're going to look at some storm systems that are coming in. We already have some warnings posted and cancellations potentially for the ferry. So let's check that out. Um, First of all, I'm just going to show you the current conditions. We're at 7 degrees. We're probably going to be that temperature pretty steady through the next day or two. Air quality is pretty good, calm winds, and just a little bit of rain this morning. So all of these are going to change aside from the temperature. We should see some winds coming up in the next uh, six or six or so hours. So in the afternoon today, Tuesday, and we're going to see some rain. So first things first, I wanted to point out that BC Ferries is already expecting cancellations. This is the look on the website for Duke Point. Sorry, this is. Yeah. Okay. There we go. Nanaimo. Sorry about that. We want Nanaimo. So Duke Point, it's looking pretty good for um, space right now, but they did send a notice this morning. I'll just switch to those so you can see them. There they are. So they have said to ensure the safety of our customers following sailings are at risk of being canceled. So that's both the Tawasin to Nanaimo run and the Horseshoe Bay to Nanaimo run. So both directions, both Nanaimo locations. This may also be, they may have also sent one out for Swartz Bay. I'm not sure about other ferry terminals, but you'll definitely want to check it out. So they're looking at starting the 3 o'clock sailings are at risk of cancellation due to the forecast from Environment Canada. So people are getting ready, and this is looking like it will be a windy event. So just to look at that forecast, here's the main forecast for Port Alberni. We'll just go here. So you can see 60% chance of showers today, rain beginning near noon, 5 millimeters, and then tonight 30 to 40 millimeters with wind gusting 30 to 50 near midnight, and then the same tomorrow. So that's the inland area. Now, if you're on the west coast or the east coast, you're going to have a wind warning already in effect. So they are there for both. You can see the wind speeds. Notably, the east coast, it says wind southeast 40 gusting to 60, except 70 gusting to 100 kilometers per hour near the Strait of Georgia this evening and after midnight. So gusting to 100 kilometers an hour. Obviously, that's why they're talking about ferry cancellations and a big possible event. So that's the east side of the island. The west side of the island has the same expectations, although it's actually a little bit higher, 60 to 80, and then gusting to 100 over exposed coastal sections this evening. So super windy, and actually, if you look at the West Coast forecast, you can see it's windy through Saturday. Um, Looks like we get a bit of a break on Thursday and Friday, but Saturday again they're expecting windy conditions. So keep an eye out for that. I don't see that on the East Coast or Port Alberni, but certainly on the West Coast. So windy afternoon today and evening into the night. So let's look at the satellite picture just to see what's coming. So there's our main system coming onto the island. Should be here, like I said, in the next 6 to 12 hours. If we look at the radar, there shouldn't be much on the radar yet, but this will fill in over the next few hours. So you can see just a little bit of rain coming onto the island now. Moving into Port Alberni, there's a little bit there. Some coming into Nanaimo. It's looking like Victoria has a rain shadow for this event, so that's nice for them. Yeah, so we're expecting much more rain to come, and it will be on the it'll definitely be on the radar there. Good. So let's look first at the forecast here. So the that's good. So the forecast is updated now. So this is this morning's forecast for the next 96 hours. So let's look at the precipitation first. We'll check that out, and then we'll check the wind expectations. Looks like you can always tell when there's lots of interest and there's a storm coming, because this website gets a little slow. There we go. Um, well, coming in. So here's our system coming in. So this is 1 o'clock today. You can see the main meat of the system there is still offshore. So we don't see the main bands of rain impacting the island until about 7 o'clock, so around that 4 to 7 time frame tonight. Um, and you can see it's moving on and spreads in. Now you can see also I mentioned the rain shadow there just for Victoria. So there's that little pocket, the rain shadow, but all of the rest of the island is going to have strong rain through the evening today and strong winds. Um, so the first band looks like it moves through by tomorrow morning. But there are lots of showers in behind. So don't expect it to dry out tomorrow on Wednesday. We have lots and lots of showers, just bands and bands of showers behind that system. So all through tomorrow, um, expect showers, probably heavy at times tomorrow on Wednesday, and then it starts to clear up on Thursday, and it should be mostly dry. Maybe a few showers here and there on Thursday, and then Friday looks okay. So and then and then there's our next system looming for Saturday. Okay, so we'll just go back here. So just so you can see that timing again, here's the system coming onto the island. Expect rain to begin in West Coast communities to, Ucluelet, Bamfield, before 4 o'clock this afternoon. And then the rest of the island in that 4 to 7 p.m. time frame. So that's when you can expect things to pick up pretty much everywhere. Heavy rain on the west coast, and then the heaviest rains should be tonight around midnight or just before. And that's also going to be when the wind is going to come as well. So let's look at the wind so we can get a good idea of what it expects as far as wind speeds and timing. So here we go. I'm gonna zoom in here a little bit. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back one, and I'm gonna try to get. We'll see how much we can get from Mm, yeah, let's do this one. See how much we can get from this. Does it go past? Yeah, it goes into Wednesday, so that's good. Okay, so let's go and let's zoom in here a little bit. And here's the knots on the scale here. So this is knots, um, wind speed. So 50 is the sort of medium blue. Dark blue is 55 knots. So 55 to 60, that's you're looking at 100 kilometers an hour there. So let me just make sure. 55 knots. There's my little calculator. Oop, just so you can see it. Speed, knots, 63 miles per hour, or yeah, 101. So 55 is 101 kilometers an hour. So that's what you can look for. So this is 10 a.m. So right now this is the forecast for the island, the southern tip at least. So again, we're looking about right. Have calm winds in the Alberni Valley, just some south or southeasterlies in the Strait of Georgia, and southwesterlies down off of Port Renfrew. So let's bring this up forward so you can see. This is why the ferries are already starting to cancel, or potentially cancel ferries. So the expectation by 1 o'clock, so 10 to 1 o'clock period, we see those southeasterly winds picking up in the Strait of Georgia, especially in the northern portions by Texada Island, Powell River. So we're looking at red here. That's 3 bars. That should be 30 knots. Yes. Yeah. 25 gray is 30. Um, so that's 25 knots. And then if we move one more here, there's 30 knots. So three flags here on the thing. So you can see that that northern Strait of Georgia is where it's going to be strongest to start. We can also see some 30 knots here off of Victoria, and down in just off of Swassen. So that's 25 knots down there. And if you're wondering what 25 knots is, oops, 25 is 46 kilometers per hour. So that's 25 knots. So that's by 4 o'clock today. Then we move a little further, 4 to 7 o'clock. We see those winds picking up. We can see some 45. Yeah, so that looks like 45 kilometer or knot winds down off the coast of Washington State. And we see 30 knots in the across the Strait of Georgia, up to 35, those green areas. So that's getting up over 50 kilometers an hour. So that's 60 kilometers an hour. That's this evening, and then another step up here at 10 o'clock. Now we start to see. So there's right off of Denman Island and Hornby Island. There's our first look at 100 kilometers an hour, probably 55 knots is the expectation there. Same down here off of Victoria, big area of potentially 40 to 50 knot winds. So you're looking at 100 kilometers an hour down there, and very strong through the rest of the Strait of Georgia. So 35 to 40 knot winds. So you're looking at 70 kilometers an hour, 75 kilometers an hour. And that includes Sawasan, which is right here. Um, So yeah, 75 kilometers at Tsawwassen, they're not going to be docking uh, any ferries. So those later ferries, especially, later in the evening today, expect ferry cancellations if this is the what we're going to get for winds. So that's the peak. It looks like by around 10 o'clock, that's sort of the peak, probably maybe into 11. But we start to see things drop off a little bit. You can see there's 55. Is that 55? Just gonna make sure. 40, 45, 50, 40, 45, 50. Yeah, 55. So these bars here, that's 55. There's actually a little bit of 60 here, in just off of Washington State. So that's yeah, that's 60. So there are some bands over 100 kilometers an hour potentially off of the west coast of Washington State. Be interesting to see if we see more than that. See that in on the west coast as well. We might see over 100 kilometers an hour, maybe 110. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, the peak looks like 10 o'clock tonight, maybe into 11 o'clock. But here we can see 10 to 1 a.m. It starts to lighten on the west coast. We can see that things are moving down. We're into 30 knots again. Um, but there still is very strong winds up in the northern Georgia Strait, Denman Island, Hornby Island. This is 100 kilometer an hour, 55 knots here, right on the tip there. So very, very strong winds in the north portion of the East Coast there. By Wednesday morning, it's starting to lessen off a little bit. I think you might see some cancellations of ferries early tomorrow morning, because we're still looking at 30 to 40 knots here in the central Strait of Georgia. So and around Duke Point, Duke Point's here, Tsawwassen is here, Horseshoe Bay is in here. So there's still plenty of 40 to 35 knot winds in here. There's a 45 and a 50 up there. So still very strong in the early morning on Wednesday. Um, 7 to 10 a.m. Wednesday, there's still a patch of strong winds here, 25 to 30 to 35 knots. So be aware. So after the noon period is probably when you're going to see um, those winds die down finally, and hopefully any ferry cancellations should be over. So that's the biggest thing that we're looking at, is those ferry cancellations and that wind. So I would expect there to be some serious power outages tonight, um, especially on the East Coast, towards Courtney, Campbell River. Why don't I just move out here for a second and see if we can see, can we see more up to Campbell River? Not really. Let's see what we can see in the 4 kilometer one here. There we go. Let's see what we can see. So if we look at this wider shot, it's not quite as precise, but you'll get the same idea. So there's the winds coming in around 4 to 7 p.m. tonight, the strongest winds. So see it really starts up at the northern end of the island. That's 40 to 50 knots, so approaching 100 kilometers an hour, and then moving into the Strait of Georgia tonight. So that's really strong stuff. So after really after about 1 o'clock this afternoon, you can expect ferry cancellations, and then after about 7 o'clock tonight, is when I would expect you might start to see some power outages, especially on the west coast. You can see there's pockets of 100 km an hour, 55 knots here, off of Tofino, um, and Ucluelet and Bamfield. That's offshore, but you could see gusts just on the edges, and 100 90 to 100 probably in the Georgia Strait there. So Courtney, looks like Campbell River isn't too bad. It will be windy up there, but maybe not as bad as like Courtney, Denman Island, Hornby, Parksville, and the Sunshine Coast, and probably the Gulf Islands, of course, as well. Um, but yeah, that midnight sort of 7 o'clock to midnight is probably going to be the strongest winds for this storm. So that's what I would expect. Um, We'll just take a quick look at rainfall, so what we can expect for rainfall over the next 24 hours. I don't think it's going to be huge. There will be strong rains, but I don't think it'll be anything that we're not used to. So let's just take a look here. So these are 24-hour accumulations. This is to 4 a.m. tomorrow. There we go. So this is between 4 p.m. Tuesday and 4 p.m. Wednesday. So purple here for the Alberni Valley. That's 1 inch or so. So you're looking at 30 to 40 millimeters. Not too bad. A little more, probably up to 100 millimeters in the mountains. But it's not too bad. And then the next 24 hours, you can see it lightens up quite a bit. So going through Wednesday, just to reiterate, there will be showers throughout the day on Wednesday. That's really what this picture shows. So maybe a few little pockets of dry air on the east side of the Parksville, sorry, Manor-o-Smith and Beaufort's. So Parksville, Oceanside, and that. But Port Alberni will probably get some more rain tomorrow. The West Coast definitely, Cowichan, and Victoria will get some rain tomorrow as well. Victoria is sort of the lucky one here, so we have a bit of a rain shadow that's likely to develop. So I wouldn't expect a huge amount of rain in Victoria, but you'll get a little bit on Wednesday instead, and into Thursday. So that's I think all for today. Don't think I need to do much more. Thank you for listening. Please do like and subscribe the video. Share it with your friends. I'll put this up with a blog on the website, and we'll do this again hopefully in the next couple days. Okay, thanks. Have a great day.